Aboriginal TV Channel 4, putting Aboriginal news first.
There is much confusion in Aboriginal communities about superannuation, and in an effort to educate Yungu from the Galiwinku community, there was a visit to the community by a number of financial organisations to assist the community members with superannuation queries and the search of their lost funds. The visit included discussions on understanding what super is, the opportunity to learn about their super funds, finding lost super, consolidation of super accounts and when to make claims, including the insurance within their super fund. Super industry volunteers are taking part, providing hands-on support to help Indigenous Australians reconnect with their super. Assisting Indigenous Australians to reclaim lost super accounts, representatives included Australian Tax Office, the Department of Human Services and other organisations joining together to service remote Aboriginal communities in northeast Arnhem Land.
First Nations Foundation is an Indigenous charity and we are doing free superannuation outreach for Yolngu communities this week in Galiwinku, Galiwinku today. We're going to Milingimbi tomorrow and Ramingining tomorrow, the day after. We're based out of Melbourne but we travel everywhere. We've been to APY Lands, Cape York, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. We've been to Kununurra, Broome, Darwin and now we're in East Arnhem. We work with Indigenous communities, so it's an Indigenous board, and although our volunteers are from superannuation funds and they're Ballanda, they are still really committed. We're all working hard to help Aboriginal people find their super.
It's a really great opportunity for the industry to help Yolngu to understand their super fund as well as find that lost super that we know can be in multiple accounts. This is our first big super day out in Arnhem Land. It's a big effort from everyone, but we hope that with the success of this one, First Nations Foundation and the super funds will realise that we really need to do this more regularly, and probably we need to hit some other larger communities in Arnhem Land as well.
Noticing a real need to get Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders involved in their super and the difficulties associated with living remotely, including access to computers, waiting times on phones and issues surrounding identification, the Arnhem Land Progress Aboriginal Corporation joined arms with the First Nations Foundation as a community partner to help remote Aboriginal community members. The Big Super Day Out tours have helped more than 1,300 Aboriginal people and returned more than $18.7 million in Indigenous super across 13 communities in the past 5 years.
The Big Super Day Out is a concept introduced by First Nations Foundation, who are a financial literacy organisation for First Nations people. They were finding that there was a lot of questions about superannuation in communities and thought that they would respond by bringing industry representatives from the super funds together and then bring them out to communities to help people face-to-face with their superannuation questions. There's obviously a limited number of community visits they can do in any one particular year because they rely on volunteer support in order to do their work, and they don't have a great deal of funding, unfortunately, to do what's actually really important work in the communities.
We've been helping people look for super 10 or 15 years and we've never had the access that, like having the ATO here, having super funds on the door, having the information. There's often a problem with people having different names where there's been a death in the family and people can't track down whether they're beneficiaries or not. So it's a really big issue. What's happening today is amazing, but you could probably set up for 2 weeks.
If you're unsure of your superannuation entitlements, the ATO has a dedicated Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander call line you can call on 13 10 30, or you set up a My Government account which combines your superannuation, tax and human services details all in the one place.
Aboriginal TV Channel 4, putting Aboriginal news first.